Hi guys, thank you for joining us. Today I am here with Eliciana Nascimiento, and Eliciana Nascimiento is the creator and the producer of the film The Summer of Gods. Now The Summer of Gods follows Lilly, who's a little Afro Brazilian girl with her mother, going to a part of Brazil where she is native to visit her grandmother. And her grandmother is a healer, a spiritual healer, who teaches Lilly quite a lot of stories and also gives her a sense of her ancestry and where she comes from, the importance of where she comes from. The film is beautifully made, and it is...
Thank you.
It's true, and it's like somebody looking at you in your eyes and seeing you for the first time, and so I highly suggest you go and see it. Eliciana has gracefully accepted to spend this time with us. Alright, so thank you so much, Eliciana, for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Como era bonito o presente para Iemanjá quando tinha aqui. Nem pra filha.
Se você chegar, você vai se machucar.
Ai, você me corou!
Você vai começar seu calundu de novo, vai? Ô, filha.
E é o tempo de Iemanjá e Oxalá.
Essa ilha só existe por causa de Iemanjá. Se ela não for lembrada com sua festa, muitas coisas poderão acontecer.
Você não vai acreditar.
Você está tão linda.
So I wanted for you to talk to us a little bit about your inspiration behind this movie. Tell us a little bit about the journey that led you to The Summer of Gods.
Okay. To start, The Summer of Gods it's a result of my thesis film, of my thesis project. So the year that I was getting prepared to write my thesis, I was going through my year, what we call the year of Yahoragem. It's when you are initiated, and you have 1 year to learn the religion and to respect and follow a lot of rules, and you have to be dressed in white for the whole year, head covered, and so I was going through a process of transformation in my life, and during this time I was really remembering and thinking about all the memories that I had with my ancestors back in Brazil, especially my mom. She's from a small village called Ituberá. It's a small city in northeast Brazil, and she used to take us to see our great-grandmother in a village, and our great-grandmother, she was a healer, and so she would do ceremonies and traditions related to our ancestors and Orishas. And I remember I was really small, and I was interested in seeing everything and learning about everything. And it was like the place was a very remote island. It was isolated from anywhere. We could only have access to the island by boat. So all these memories had always been part of my life, like a fantasy, a place where I would like to go back and reassess again. So The Summer of Gods ended up being a memory of these times that I used to go back to this island with my mom, and my experience being initiated into the Afro religion tradition. And so the character Lilly is kind of a reflection of myself and my relationship with my mother. So the grandmother in the film kind of represents my great grandmother from the small village and my mom, because my mom was who introduced me to the tradition. I still think today that the greatest gift my mom gave me was actually introducing me to my ancestors, this tradition. And so she used to tell me so many stories. She loved to tell stories. And I remember I would lay down on the sofa and she would be cooking or cleaning or doing things. And she should be telling me stories of her life, things that she went through, sometimes painful, sometimes, I don't know, just interesting. And I would be learning about these people that I have never met in my life. And what was interesting to me is that sometimes I would have heard the same story like 10 times. I already knew everything that was going to happen, but I was still interested and I still want to listen to the story because my mom was amazing telling stories, and I just want to learn and know everything that she had to tell me. So that's how the Sum of Gods came to be. It's an honor to my mom, to all that she taught me and all that she introduced me to this tradition.
So Eliciana, earlier we were talking about the state of our community today, and I mean Africans and African descendants, and how it's so common to see Africans converted to other religions and started to look at our African religions and our spirituality as evil. And it's so uncommon to find Africans and African descendants who embrace their culture and embrace their religion. What is your experience with that?
It's a good question because that actually is my next project is about that. And my next film, it's called The Holy War. And it's also set in Brazil, and it talks about how a lot of African descendants join the evangelical church and religion, and then they start discriminating people from African descendant tradition. And some of these people, they were part of this tradition before, and then they are trying to talk bad about it right now because they're just joining something else. And we know that all this war and conflicts that happen between these religions has to do with power and money. And unfortunately, all the churches are kind of taking over. A lot of I think that's happening in a lot of countries in Africa and in Brazil and here in the United States, everywhere. And the sad part about this is that it's basically the conflict, it's the war, right? It's denying what we came from, what we used to do, and our traditions. I'm not against any religion. I believe that any form of worship is positive as long as you're doing something to better yourself. So I don't think the religion is a problem, but the power that goes behind it, and the concept and the conflicts of discrimination against our tradition is what's negative. And it's sad because we lose our history. We don't know where we came from. And especially in Brazil, you see that a lot, especially from the evangelical church. It's really sad the way that they're attacking Afro tradition religions. It's violent. It's violent. There is a case of we call Moni Tano, it's a Yalosha, who died of a heart attack because of the insults of one evangelical priest. So it's really sad to, if we start looking at all the cases of racism and violent attacks against people of Afro religion tradition, and it's sad because all of this is because a lot of people don't know, right? don't know what we do and don't know our history, don't know our tradition. So it is sad that some of our people look back at our culture and see as evil, and I don't know how our children are going to grow up and how they're going to learn about our tradition if there's no one to teach. There are I'm trying to remember the name of this author in Brazil. I remember her last name Guedes. She wrote a book about candomblé in education, and she follows candomblé is one of the most known Afro tradition religion in Brazil, and she follows several kids who goes to school. And they are part of the candomblé religion tradition. So these kids, they suffer so much discrimination at school. Once they are initiated, there are certain things that you have to do and certain rules that you have to follow. And these kids, they had to cover the head and dress in white. And then in school, everyone was making fun of these kids because, of course, they're dressed differently, they're acting differently, and so she's interviewed these kids to find out how they react to these discriminations. And I remember that there were kids who said that they had to tell in school they had leukemia, and that was the reason why they had to shave their head, because that's one of the things that we do once we are initiated is shaving the head. It's basically a rebirth. So you're born again. And so these kids, they're raised in what we call terreiro, in a temple, where they're learning about the gods and the African gods and learning to worship them. And then once they get in school, they suffer discrimination. And it's even worse when the teacher is evangelical and they don't know how to deal with that. So imagine all the psychological mistreat that the kid is going to have in school and in other environment. So unfortunately, it's really hard, and we suffer a lot too. I mean, we from our tradition, it's so hard to talk about what we do. It's so hard to be open to wear our lekes at work or in other places where people don't know what we do, because unfortunately Hollywood made a very evil image of our traditions. We only know the voodoo or whatever kind of a practice that's done as a negative thing. We don't see what we do as a positive light. And that was one of the main reason why the Sum of Gods, for me, I wanted to make something that's positive, and especially from an eye of a child, because I want to give a hope to the children who are part of this tradition, who are born to be priests and priestess, and they can see Lilly and see themselves and keep the tradition alive and feel confident about what they do and what they believe.
It was beautifully done.
Thank you.
Beautifully done. And your film is an asset to our cultural continuity. And I want to thank you, because I think we need more of this. And guys, please go to the website, purchase the film, and watch it. It is better than probably most of the entertainment you've consumed this month combined.
Sure.
I'm just saying. It's true.
It's not because it's directed and wrote it.
It's not because she's here. Go and buy the film, and you'll have full access to the film. Once you've bought it, you'll have full access to it. It also comes with
extras,
including behind the scenes and a lot of material. So definitely go and see it. It's such a beautiful film. I hope you watch it and you enjoy it.
And if you want to find it, it's on my website, on the film's official website. It's called desumofgods.com. We have DVDs and digital download, and as Amoin said, there are extras. There's myself telling why I made this film, and some stories of how we made the film. You can learn more about Bahia and the tradition. So go ahead and get the film.
Thank you guys for watching. It was such a pleasure to have Eliciana with us, and
thank you for inviting me, and I hope this is the beginning of a great program. We need more of this, and thank you for doing this. It's very important, the stories you allowing us to tell our stories and tell the good things that we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.